Chair recognizes the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Gutierrez, for 5 minutes.
Yesterday, the American Civil Liberties Union, the Puerto Rican Legal Defense and Educational Fund, and the National Institute for Latino Policy published this full-page ad and roll call, one of the key newspapers here on Capitol Hill. These respected civil rights and policy organizations have investigated and denounced the civil and human rights crisis in Puerto Rico. They bought a full-page ad to alert Congress about the serious concerns about civil and human rights, about abuses against the citizens of Puerto Rico by their government, including the infringement of right of free speech, peaceful assembly, freedom from police violence and abuse, end quote. And they make an essential point. If these abuses were happening anywhere in the 50 states, they would not be tolerated. These abuses would be the front page on every newspaper, as they are in Puerto Rico. It's time for this Congress to start paying attention. Students and working people, journalists, environmentalists in Puerto Rico are paying attention because the freedoms we take for granted in America are being denied to them each day. I would like today to remind you of what has happened. On this floor, I have condemned the use of heavily armed riot squads against peaceful student and labor protesters at the University of Puerto Rico and in the streets of San Juan. I have denounced the beatings of students by police armed with nightsticks and use of pepper spray on protesters and even journalists, the groping of female students. I have stood up to defend the Puerto Rican Bar Association, a clear voice for justice that has been attacked by the ruling party and their legislature and their allies on the federal bench. I have spoken on the House floor, and leaders have spoken on the island about the environmental emergency the ruling party has brought onto Puerto Rico. The government declared an energy emergency to avoid routine fact-finding and licensing procedures so that it could build a 100-mile-long, $500 million gas pipeline on a tropical island that is designed more to help wealthy insiders than the people of Puerto Rico. While actions in Wisconsin and Ohio and other states that threaten workers' rights are discussed routinely in the U.S., the fact that the governor of Puerto Rico has fired tens of thousands of public employees and canceled labor agreements, all contrary to campaign promises, is largely unknown. But Tea Partiers don't rejoice. He has also doubled the property taxes on everyone. Even the courts are under attack on the island. This governor has packed the Puerto Rican Supreme Court with activists of the ruling party. He created 2 new positions on the Supreme Court in order to add 2 new judges to a court that already had a majority of the ruling party. He did this, of course, despite the fact of having denounced Hugo Chavez when he believed he was doing the same thing in Venezuela. Just 2 weeks ago, the ruling party yet again changed the law so they could fire the island's ombudswoman for the elderly, who had years left on her 10-year appointment because of her independence and vocal disagreement with the ruling party. And because I have spoken out against the ruling party in Puerto Rico, I've earned a resolution of censure from the ruling party's legislature. I've earned a full-page ad and roll call condemning me for using my right to speech. Only the ruling party of Puerto Rico would respond to complaints about free speech and civil rights abuses by officially passing a resolution condemning someone for speaking. Should any of my colleagues not believe this absurdity, you just need to come to my office where I display proudly these documents. I invite you to come and see them. I ask my colleagues today, please pay attention to what is happening in Puerto Rico. If it were happening in Illinois, New York, Texas, or Wyoming, or any of the states of our union, this Congress would have grave concerns. One meaningful first step would be to join me in urging the Department of Justice to complete the investigation that they have initiated into police abuses in Puerto Rico that started in 2008 and promptly release the results. I would also ask my colleagues and their staffs to attend the congressional briefing organized by the ACLU next Tuesday, July 12th at 10 a.m. And finally, I ask my friends and colleagues to do what we do whenever we see regimes that refuse to treat people fairly. Please speak out for the values that define us as Americans. Please join me in standing for liberty and justice for all.